Bring in Marco Vicenzino, who's an international affairs commentator and director of Global Strategy Project. Marco, thanks for joining us. Where does this movement against Maduro go from here?
Well, obviously, there's a diplomatic process internationally, which there seems to be quite split. The United States, together with its allies, 14 countries in the region known as the Lima Group, also with the European Union. Although the European Union hasn't recognized Juan Guaido, they've expressed some support for the democratic process. On the other hand, you have Russia, you have countries like Turkey, also Mexico within the Western Hemisphere supporting the Maduro regime. So I think as terms of moving forward, you're going to see a process rolling out whereby you can see possible strengthening of U.S. sanctions against Venezuela's oil industry, which accounts for the overwhelming majority of the budget of the country. And then also that same money is used. I mean, 3/4 of those oil exports go to the United States, and that money is used as largesse to support the military. But ultimately, within the country, who retains real power depends on which way the military goes. So although the military, the top brass, has expressed support for Maduro, that doesn't necessarily mean that military support is ironclad. There's a lot of discontent within the lower ranks of the military, and those lower ranks of the militaries are experiencing the same deprivations as many ordinary Venezuelans are.
Ironic that Maduro says he represents the people in the broadest sense, but it's the people who are going without.
Yeah, I mean, it depends which people. I think the overwhelming majority right now, you'd say, would be against the government, but there's still a minority who supports him. And when you come to real support within the country, you're looking at who has the guns. I mean, ultimately, it comes down to raw power. The 2018 election, the re-election of Maduro, I think internationally was condemned by most countries as illegitimate, as fraudulent. But ultimately, with that support of the military, he can continue in power. And ultimately, you have over 3 million Venezuelans who fled the country. I think you can use the word economic collapse. Would be fair to use that right now. But the government continues to survive. And in terms of the political process, I think right now what determines is going to be raw power. Whoever has those guns is going to ultimately determine power. We'll see that unfolding in the following days and weeks. And it depends ultimately which way the military goes. If it becomes split, for example, if the top brass continues with their support, but there's a collapse at the bottom level, at the lower ranks of the military. And you'll see split. It's just across society within the military ranks itself.
And what about the UN? Obviously, calls from the United States for a Security Council meeting on Venezuela. Do you think that will achieve anything?
I mean, the Security Council process is it's as effective as the 5 permanent members remain on the same page. And in this term, you'll have Russia and China on one side, the United States taking another, and obviously the European position, although not coming out directly in support of Juan Guaido, the self-declared interim president. You'll have the French and the UK obviously supporting the US side, although once again, maybe not explicitly supporting the self-declared interim president. So once again, the United Nations, it's a place where Security Council, where the differences of opinions will be voiced clearly, but in terms of effective action, it depends ultimately on the 5 powers coming together. In this situation, they will not.
Indeed. At the moment, more questions than answers, and that's stalemate in Caracas. A very finely balanced situation and very dangerous too. Marco Vicenzino of Global Strategies Project, thank you, sir, as ever, for your analysis here on France 24.